This week on the Authentic Media Podcast.
You can follow the trends, but make it your own.
You can see something that's gone viral. If we were to film it and then share that, it's already outdated by then.
What's like the most craziest comment that you guys have gotten?
He doesn't like his wife. They're going to be divorced in 2 days.
What?
I could never marry a man like this. Like, it was bad.
So how did you handle that? Because I'm sure that affected you.
It did.
I never want to lose sight of who we are. I don't think I have a lot of wisdom, but I want to share wisdom. It may not impact 99, but if it impacts 1, then you're good.
Have you ever wondered how to create real, relatable, and authentic content that is very true to you? If you ever wondered how to do it and you don't know where to start, this episode's for you because I have my good friends here, Caleb and Levi from That's How You Feel podcast, joining me for the first time here. So excited to have you guys because you just told me it's your first podcast where you are being interviewed. You're like on the other side of the seat of the mic. How do you feel?
I'm excited. Yeah, this is the first official time I think where we've went on to someone else's show and they presented us with questions and kind of an outline of what the show would look like. And
you're like famous.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, hey, if you want to follow our show, so That's How You Feel show on all social media platforms. But first, follow Authentic Media.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Caleb, how are you feeling over there?
I'm gonna be y'all's hype man.
I love this.
I feel humbled. I'm like, why would you want
Blessed. Me? Yeah. No, I'm talking with you, not at you.
Oh my God. Okay, forewarning, if you know anything about their podcast, like they are jokesters. They love to have a great time, which is why I was like, you know what? I think you guys need to come on the Authentic Media Podcast because, one, I think you can speak from the standpoint of what it's like to build a brand authentically. And I was really inspired by the way that you guys like just have different types of, I don't know, just like different types of episodes, and they're very funny. Like you're very real, raw, and authentic. And so I said, okay, you guys got to like basically share your formula on this podcast because there's a lot of creators out there who are afraid to be themselves. Mm-hmm.
That's true. And I know we're probably going to get into it. And it terrifies me like every episode because building a brand and building this podcast and building this platform is so scary to me because I follow podcasts that are already like big and famous and I struggle so deeply fighting the instant gratification. Like, where's my 1 million followers?
Yes.
Where's my brand advertising? Where are my brand deals? And every episode I'm just like, like the pain of the slow grind and the slow build is it's so real. And I have to fight it all the time.
Yeah.
It's so tough. So I know, but I'm getting ahead of myself though.
No, that's good. I love that. Well, okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's not that important. I was going to say.
I just love you.
What I like about that, what I agree.
Caleb's over it. Caleb is over it.
Well, and I've already lost my train of thought because that threw me off.
I didn't even do anything.
No,
okay.
Yeah, so let's just cut that part.
No, we're going to keep all of it. Okay,
good.
We're going to keep all of it. Okay, I learned that from you guys because I was on their show a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't tuned into that episode, definitely check it out.
Me and Michaela episode.
Yeah, talking about masculinity and femininity. So definitely check it out. Okay, but I want to go into your origin story. Okay, so be authentic as you want. But I'm curious, like, first of all, let's start with the name. Where did That's How You Feel name
I thought
podcast?
You were gonna say Levi. I was thinking,
Caleb was like, what is happening?
Caleb, why don't you start with that? Because
the name, That's How You Feel.
Yeah.
You came to me with the name.
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't about to start talking. I was like, this was my idea. Bro, like,
you better talk about it.
No, okay, so I have, or my friends will say that I suffer from ADD, and I don't believe them.
OCD, ADHD,
all
of them. Yeah.
So I have a problem with, you said something to me a couple weeks ago about like my filter, about how the filter is reversed, what I shouldn't say, I say, and the things that like I leave in the head.
Yeah.
That's probably what I should have said. But I often have wild opinions and wild just thoughts, and the rare moments when I let those like known to people, when I let them known, people go, that you shouldn't say that out loud. I'm like, but that's how I feel. Like, that's my thought.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of wanted to, it sounds kind of selfish, but I've always wanted to have a small platform to be able to voice the things that are important to me, that bring up issues that I care about. Yeah. And I thought about it and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then the thought of, there's a million podcasts that are already out there. Like, why do we need another one? And I was listening to a motivational speaker. I won't remember the name, but they were talking about why it's important to start your own business if you feel like that's something that you can't like shake.
Right.
And he said, when you go down the bread aisle, how many different brands of bread are there? And how many different brands and makes are within the bread that people like? How many different types of Sara Lee bread are there? How many types of Wonder Bread are there? Water. And yet there are still more brands coming out with bread. The bread aisle is almost 2 aisles long now.
Literally.
Amen.
And even then, there's on top of the bread aisle, there's a bakery section where you can get other bread.
Yeah.
And so that kind of speech kind of like gave me the courage to go, okay, I can be another person on the bread aisle. I can be another brand out there. And so then I thought, who am I going to get with it? And I was like, let me get my best friend. And so I came to Levi and I was like, hey, how do you feel about starting a podcast? And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh.
I was going to tell him the truth that I said no.
Really?
Wait, you first said no?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, in my head, I remember he just was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
But then the fear of, okay, we agreed to do it, but like, let's actually do this thing. And so I was ready to go by the time I pitched it to him, but he needed some time to like sort that thought out and really flush out that idea. Like, do I really want to do this? And then I gave him a deadline. I was like, hey, look, you got till the end of the month to, let's pick a day. Let's just film an episode. Let's just see what happens. Yeah. But I want to get something on the books. I want to get like an episode. Let's start with one.
Right.
And I gave him a deadline of like, you got till the end of the month to pick a day to film.
And the thing is, if he wouldn't have done that,
you were just going to procrastinate.
Because when he told me, it sounded like a great idea.
Yeah, you're like,
I wasn't ready to commit, but he's like, when I do it, I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I've always thought it'd be great to do a podcast because there's so many things in this world I think is really, everyone has their own perspective, their own voice, and your voice can really impact other people just by a normal conversation you're having.
Right.
Honestly, that's what this is just talking with your friends. And it seems a lot more intimidating than that, especially going into it. But it's been really, really cool. Yeah. But had he not pushed, I probably wouldn't have thought like, hey, let's get this going.
Well, I love even too, like how you guys have orchestrated your entire podcast, right? Like it seems random, but it's very like organized and structured in a way to where it's like, it's light, it's funny. And then it's also like you have moments where you have like these heated conversations on like current topic events, right? And so I'm curious, like, what was the process behind like creating your episode topics? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who want to start a podcast. Like you said, there's so many different brands, but then they're like, I don't know what I want to talk about, right? So it's like, how did you guys get to that space of like nailing down your topics?
That's kind of where I struggle with, because like there's a lot of things that I so desperately just want to follow, like what are other people talking about, and just like mimic their episodes and just do those sorts of things. But I'm like, let me fight that urge and just do what's ever on my mind, because a lot of the topics are just whatever is on my mind. If he sends me a text or says something to me that makes me wonder or makes me think, let's flush out that thought in an episode. Like he asked me one day, do you think you might be a narcissist? And I said, that's a question worth flushing out.
Wow.
He's asked me, we've talked about bullying before.
Well, he didn't really ask. He didn't say, let's flesh that out. He stewed on that comment for probably 2-3 weeks. And then he was doing message notes, and that was his notes.
I was like, that birthed an episode.
Yeah.
But then there are also topics that are passionate to us, like health and nutrition is something I'm really important of. And like that was one of the first episodes that we did. Don't cover your stomach as soon as I said health and nutrition.
It's real passionate for me.
Let me get
so that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. So I had my brother who is he's a health coach that I had him on there. Mental health is very important to Levi. So we've done several episodes on mental health and therapy and things like that. So it's usually kind of whatever is just on our hearts and minds at that moment and the time. And sometimes I'm like, what are we going to talk about next week?
Well, it's an ongoing thing because that's one of the things getting into starting a podcast. When you have like, oh, I think it'd be cool to start a podcast, you have a vision of like things you would want to talk about.
Right.
But I think when you don't realize, because there's a statistic that most podcasts don't last past 20 episodes?
Yeah.
10 episodes. And I think that's because, in my mind, if I was to have my own podcast, it would be in regards to like mental health and grief and stuff like that.
Right.
But then you have to think, you're putting out content weekly.
Right.
Do you have enough thoughts like on that specific thing to come up with fresh content?
Right.
Also mimicking other shows. One, that's not authentic.
Yeah.
But two, you can see something that's gone viral right now. If you were to film that, and the way that we film ahead of time. So maybe like a week ahead of time or 2 weeks. And so if we were to film it and then share that, it's already outdated by then.
Right.
And so I would encourage you, like, yes, get ideas from others of what you can implement into your show, but don't like take their whole show and use it as yours because it's never going to be the same.
Exactly.
If you use what you're passionate about and what you really like, it's going to come across better on camera anyways.
Exactly. And I think that's why I love how you like talked about, like, I just talk about whatever that's on my mind. But I think a lot of people are afraid to like put themselves in front of a camera and on a mic and talk about their real thoughts. But like that is the significance of being authentic, because I think you find it more relatable. So, okay, cliche question, but like, what does authenticity mean to you?
Authenticity it's frightening. And to walk in it takes a lot of bravery. I'm kind of a hypocrite sometimes because I will tell people, be aggressively, authentically you.
Yeah.
Let people know who you are, because I firmly believe that when you start doing that, the people who need to be around you will be around you.
Right.
And folks that don't like who you are when you become your authentic self, they will leave. I had a beautiful friend tell me the other day that they feel like they don't have to perform when they're around me.
Wow, that's so
and
good.
It's a blessing and a curse, because like I love that they are comfortable enough to be themselves around me.
Yeah.
But also it's like, oh, can you sit up straight when you're around me though? Like, come on, like no, I'm not the guy. But again, like I say that as a joke, but I love that people, you can come to my house. You don't have to perform. You don't have to have your hair done. You can just come in Crocs and a shirt with holes in it for all I care, and say, hey, I'm having a day right now.
Yeah.
And they know that it's okay to be that around me. You can tell me that you don't like the way that I dress, and I'm okay with that. And I love that you're okay enough to tell me that.
Yeah.
You can say you don't like my jeans.
To be fair, we don't like his outfit.
Before the show, we were like, hey, is that what you're wearing?
And then I admitted to him, I was like, those jeans have always been terrible. I'm sorry.
He's like, is this a safe space? I don't like your jeans.
No, but Caleb, you are being your authentic self, and it's great.
You are. We love it.
Confidence is key in outfits anyways.
Yes, all the time. But first of all, can I just say, I just loved your answer. I was not expecting that. Like, wow, friend.
I got gems over here. Y'all just don't.
I know,
y'all
he's
don't listen to me.
I was not prepared for this. Okay, Levi, it's your turn. What does authenticity mean to you?
Authenticity. Well, I had an answer. I'm getting all sidetracked. It did.
Okay.
You know, see,
Are you getting nervous?
Yeah. No.
You wanna breathe?
Authenticity, I think, so for me, it's really coming as you are. And I know that's a generic statement, but I mean, and kind of what you said, if you're having a bad day, or if during your day you've ran across a situation that really stumped you as far as something that like you really need to talk with others about, that's where I think, especially in a podcast format, authenticity, like, don't hide that completely. Now there is a line to it.
Yeah.
So you do want to be authentic, because in our podcast we would talk about a lot of sad stuff.
I don't think I've seen that.
Not sad, or I would say like more on grief and mental health. Of situations I've been through. There's just stuff I want to pour into, but we want to stay up with the times and relevant. And there's plenty of time, because there is so many like consistent weeks to have episodes like that. And so we want to, be able to share the important things, or things that matter to us. But also bring up things like we did an episode about the Grammys and the Oscars and like sharing our opinions, just kind of realizing Caleb knows nothing about pop culture. Doesn't know anything.
I'm with you there.
So
yeah,
just lots of things. But I think if you're coming into a podcast, sorry, you're going to stumble over your words.
But you got to keep going.
Yes. And you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
But what you said, you got to keep going. Yeah. And I think the hardest thing is comments. You're always going to see comments. This has been a thing for years. You're going to see comments that are good, bad, and just downright ugly.
Get into that. Yeah.
And I think that if you let those run your mind, that's going to affect how you come across. And I don't think you'll be authentic.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll be more worried about what I know I have at times.
For sure.
What everyone else is thinking.
I want to get into the comments, but before that part, I do want to address like the whole like process around creating content when it comes to staying up to trends. Like from your perspective, do you guys create episodes that are focused on, let's say, like the Grammys or the latest topic that's going on so you can, maybe go viral or you can keep up with the numbers? Like if someone is just starting a podcast and they're trying to get in the flow of being consistent, would you recommend that they, do podcasts that are very trendy and up to date? Or would you recommend that they stay away and just focus on being consistent?
I would say 80-20. 80-20 of just whatever's on your heart and whatever's on your mind, because that's where the authenticity will flow from. That's where the ideas will flow from. Right. Like I have a friend who's wanting to start a podcast and she is sort of heavily in like the dating scene. And I was like, you could start and just run with dating stories for days and days. Good. And just how your life is just kind of just unraveling. And she said, that's a great idea. I was like, you don't have to chase any trends. It is cool to do like a trend and pick a trend or a hot topic. We did one on politics, like in the midst of election season.
Yeah.
When I pitched, hey, we should do like a Grammys episode. Like the Grammys are coming up. We can pull the nominees that they posted because those come out and just weigh in on it. And it's fun to do that and just talk about those sorts of things.
Right.
But also, again, but you can talk about current topics from your perspective, and that's what makes it authentic. That's what makes it original.
Yeah. Right.
But if you're just out there spewing the same things that everybody else is saying, then there's really not much fun in that. And then there's nothing that sets you apart if you're truly just following the trend.
Right.
But like we were talking about how, like in the Grammys episode, I was talking about how I want Beyonce to win.
Yeah.
Not because she was just black, but like low key. And you were wanting somebody else. You were wanting like somebody else to win because of their talent.
He didn't know anybody. He didn't know anybody in the category.
Beyonce all day.
And so
my God.
It was I had no problem with that.
And so it was a fun way to kind of follow a trend that everyone's talking about, the Grammys, but also from my perspective and my point of view on who I think should win.
Yeah.
So you can follow the trends, but make it your own.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, so you mentioned we did a political episode. So one thing I've wanted to kind of always steer clear of is like politics, because it's such a divided issue. I think if you put your stamp on it either way, it's so divided. And so, but this last political season was so toxic. And so that's what we talked about, was the toxicity of it, in election years. And so it's just like, yes, you are staying consistent with the times, but again, you're pulling it from like, why is this so frustrating? And then like, let's have a conversation about this because other people are thinking about it.
Right. And okay, so back to the whole like commentary, when you're putting yourself out there, like you mentioned it, Caleb, it's frightening, right? Because you are having to now really like deal with people's comments, and sometimes people just don't hold back. Like they do not care. They will express like their opinion, and obviously we live in that country, so it's fine, right? But I'm curious, what's like the most craziest like comment that you guys have gotten on your episode?
Obviously,
the kiwis are on sale.
Obviously, I brought up a moment. One? I brought up a moment in my life and in my marriage where I was talking about it was a quick moment about my wife asking, or we were talking about I was going shopping, and we were talking about kiwis, and I first of all, I told the story poorly because what really happened was just a quick little moment, a quick little conversation. But that moment got blown wildly out of proportion and people weighed in on my life and my marriage and my character. We still get comments on it. The video is still getting fresh comments every day.
Tearing you down?
Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
People see 30 seconds.
Oh my gosh,
of your life,
100%.
and they think they have you figured out to it.
They had my number down, and every comment was he doesn't like his wife. They're going to be divorced in 2 days.
What?
Like,
are you kidding me?
I could never marry a man like this. Honey, get out of there and run. Like it was bad.
Yeah. So how did you handle that? Because I'm sure that affected you at some point.
It did. Initially, I was so excited because we got a viral clip. I'm about to be famous
at the end of the day, that's why we're creating content. I mean, we want people to see it.
I mean, any other clip would have been fine, but this is the one that's like getting so many views. It got picked up by BuzzFeed.
Wow.
BuzzFeed reached out and was like, "Hey, can we write an article about this?" And then that gained more traction, more comments. He doesn't like his spouse. This is a sham. This guy is the worst husband ever. Like, may this love never find me. It was bad.
Okay.
And then I had people, but it gave us views and gave us followers, and like my family who had never even known I had a podcast, like texted me, "Bro, is this you?" And then would send me the clip. I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So it was great for that, for the exposure, but the comments really took a toll on my mental health, where it was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like I felt some type of way. I felt the need, like, I need to come on and like justify my marriage and justify I do love my spouse. I did. Okay. I didn't want to, because I feel like if you have to go on and like defend yourself, if I have to come on and explain that I love my spouse, it's obviously not evident enough that I do just in my day-to-day living. Yeah. And so I wrestled with that that emotion. Yeah. But there came a time where I kept looking at all the comments, and like they really affected how I was feeling. Yeah. And then I just decided I'm not gonna look at another comment on the video. I don't care anymore. I liked a bunch of them because I gotta interact with your viewers now, even though they're tearing you down. Because a lot of them were just funny. A lot of them were like, haha, this is funny, but like it was repetitive. Oh my God. But the great thing about having the negative comments come in and pour in and affect me was that I also had the circle of true friends that knew who I was, that saw that, but they were in turn speaking life back into me. Yeah. If I didn't have Levi, if I didn't have my friend Joel, if I didn't have my circle saying, we know who you really are, don't let this get to you, I think it would have been a lot worse for me, honestly. So I'm in no way, shape, or form any kind of famous whatsoever. Yeah. But the scrutiny that like real celebrities get when they have any kind of like scandal, I could never, you can imagine. I can't imagine what that must be like. And like we weigh in on celebrities' lives all the time, not knowing how that like. That's why, like, even when it comes to just like pop culture, I think that's why sometimes, like, even for me, I had to like stray away, because there was a time where I like had an opportunity to get into like entertainment reporting, and I was like, for my mental health, I think I'm okay. Like, I think I'm great, like not going down that path. And so, like, by the grace of God, I've just been kind of like, let's just steer away from that, because like you said, you only know 30 seconds or even like half of the story. Right. There's always like the truth, like two sides of the truth, and then like the real story. Right. So wait, did I say that right? Yeah. That two sides of the. Well, and the thing story, is I think what kind of, so it was great because it did get a lot of followers and tractions. And yes, that's not like it's a weird thing to say sometimes when you're doing this, because you do it because you love it. We actually enjoy coming and hanging out and just filming and having fun with friends. Yeah. So it seems weird that like, yes, you want to get views, but that's how eventually the goal would be to, make a living out of it. I will say with that clip, he said, if it would have been any other video, you post so many videos that you're like, this one's gold. This one's going to go. This is going to be it. This is our big moment. And it's like never the one that you think. And then it was avocado. Kiwis.
and then it was kiwis.
So
And
what exactly did you say in the video?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I'll tell the story. I don't care.
Okay.
I'll try to paraphrase it, but
Yeah.
you can also say I'm a bad spouse for this. So I'm in the kitchen with my wife. I'm saying, hey, I'm about to go to Costco. And she's like, oh, kiwis are on sale. And I'm like, okay. And then like I was about to leave, I was like, wait a minute, did you want me to get kiwis? She was like, yeah. And I was like, well, why don't you just say that then? She's like, oh. And like literally how I told you, it was very conversational like that. I was a little snippy with them, and I was like, why don't you just say get kiwis then?
Yes, you were. And it started out, am I in the wrong if I don't buy my wife kiwis after she said that?
I was going to get them.
That was what people,
So it was something so small.
Yeah, and people thought that
went
he
crazy.
didn't buy the kiwis. The funny thing is he did.
I bought the kiwis anyway.
And the kiwis were for him. They weren't even for her.
She was thinking about me, thinking I was going to want kiwis. I didn't, but she was she was looking out for me.
Yeah.
And it was just like this, like as soon as she said kiwis are on sale, I knew, I was like, she wants me to get kiwis. And I was like, why don't you just say get kiwis?
Gotcha.
We were kind of like low key in the middle of a fight, but like we were kind of beefing. So it's kind of why like I snapped back at her a little bit. Like, but you know, it truly was like a quick moment in our daily life. And I told that story. And the internet
authenticity can be hard too sometimes.
I mean, you said it could be frightening. I mean, literally, I think that stuck with me. Like,
I wasn't scared to tell that story because I was just like, this is a throwaway clip,
right?
But our producer chopped that up and made me look like a jerk.
No,
we are not going to be talking about Julia.
Well, and I was going to say we haven't even got to mention Julia, which I know she edits your lovely podcast as well, but we wouldn't be anywhere without her.
100%. We always like to give love to Julia.
Yeah. And another thing about podcasts, this is something that we were talking about earlier, kind of starting a podcast. So you see your podcast, you see ours, and it has a video format to it as well. And I think for me, just alone, like, because I've thought like, oh, what would it be like to do a podcast?
Right.
You do not have to have all this equipment.
Oh my gosh.
If you do, that's great.
Yeah.
And yes, it will, turn out great. We are lucky.
We got lucky.
I'm married to someone who has some talent and some good equipment.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, even if you don't,
I was gonna say you married someone who had no experience doing this.
Oh, correct. She self-taught herself.
Wow.
She's self-taught.
Powerful.
Yeah, she became passionate about it.
Yeah. But I agree. I like how you talked about you don't have to have everything. Because when I found out that you guys are recording on your cell phones, I'm like, what?
Yep.
I'm like, you're doing this on your cell phone? Like, there's no excuse why you should not be creating content nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuse.
No. And especially you have a voice, make it matter. And you can't do that if you don't take the chance.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, I appreciate you sharing the story because, like I said, I think that one thing that we have to, like, just remind people as creators is that it comes with having tough skin. And I think it does make you stronger. I think that's what the news industry did for me. A lot of people are surprised when they're like, oh, have you ever gotten bad comments? I'm like, honey, do you want to know what people used to say about my hair? Okay. But now I laugh about it, right? I look back and I was like, I shouldn't have been wearing those wigs.
You're like, they may have been right a little bit.
They were right.
Or these
But that's the
jeans.
thing. There's always a way people should actually say things anyways.
Yeah.
And they probably shouldn't have said anything. So
right. Your brand deserves more than just a selfie. It deserves a vision captured perfectly. Hi, I'm Danielle J. Martin, and I'm here to help you create a visual identity that creates a lasting impression. So whether you're launching a business or you're enhancing your presence or you're rebranding, your photos are your first impression. So our brand photo shoots aren't just for you to take pretty pictures, but they're for you to tell your story, build trust, and connect with your audience in a whole different way. So if you're ready to elevate your brand that creates a lasting impression, go ahead and click that link down below. Okay, so I love that we're continuing the conversation about authenticity, being true to yourself. You guys are being very good about like letting our audience know about how to create a podcast from scratch. Let's talk about how do you prepare for an episode?
Prayer.
pretty much. Yeah.
We need Jesus.
We're like, can someone... I think so the thing with a podcast is you're not going to have it figured out day one, and you're going to consistently learn.
Yeah.
We have learned so much. We are still learning. And I think the way that we prepare for our episodes is something that we can always improve on. just different ways. I will say Caleb has come up with a really good format because when we do have guests on,
love it. Yeah.
We will have a note section. And so when you were on, we were able to send it to you.
Yeah.
And it goes over the different segments. So it'll talk about kind of like the intro and like, this is why we do this. Question of the days. This is kind of icebreakers, lighten it up, get used before we dive into the topic.
Yeah.
It was birthed out of fear.
Oh, well,
it was birthed out of fear, out of like not wanting to have a lull in a conversation. Like there have been so many times where like in our podcast where we get off topic so far and we've done episodes where we never even get to the topic. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, we have now, but that's good because, hey, we got another episode and we got one in the chamber now, but I created just like an agenda just so everybody can kind of stay on board and stay on brand, stay on just focus with what the plan is, because I was afraid of a lull in a conversation. When I first pitched the idea of the podcast, I was afraid. I was like, can we even talk to each other with purpose for 30 minutes? Yeah. Could we do that?
And what was the first episode? What?
Like an hour.
And we were like, we could have went longer.
What?
Yeah, we have to like stop the episode because we can just keep going. But it's a good thing to prepare. Like you want, like when you're starting, I love the passion behind just hit record and go. But I also love the note of, hey, take the time and just do it well. If you're going to do anything, put some effort behind it, have an outline, have a plan. I told her, like my friend that's starting her podcast, I said, why don't you just write down like 3 or 4 topics that you could just talk for maybe 30 minutes about. Right. And she's done that. And so I was like, those are your first 4 episodes right there. Yeah. Like, you don't have to really you don't have to overthink it. Just kind of go with it. But you at least know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And so
because nowadays, like long form, episodes are like key. They're gold, right? Like you said, talking for 30 plus minutes, like people are attracted to that. And then of course you have like the short form. And so I agree with your strategy, like 4 episodes, at least if you're starting from scratch, like they need to be 30 plus minutes long. And then cut them into short clips, and then, they go into shorts and things like that. So what are some other things that you guys like learned along the way that you wish you would have known like in the very beginning?
A lot about each other.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot. Oh! I mean, we probably would have chosen each other.
It's easier to do it. No,
just kidding.
You guys have like really good chemistry.
The fact that I think that we're easygoing about what annoys us about each other.
They're like brothers. You guys.
Are we easy?
A little bit.
Look, it's like before record gets pressed and then after record gets pressed, there's a lot more colorful dialogue that goes on. But the thing that I've learned the most is just how to be flexible, because it's so kind of funny. I'm more of like a stickler to the agenda. Like, let's stay on topic. Come on, guys, we got show notes to hit. We got points. Right. And Levi is so fine
authenticity
with Jesus just taking the wheel. I told
where are we going?
I have kind of warned other guests, like, hey, Levi's kind of a fly by the seat. So
which I'm not. It's just, it's so different from you because I'm just like, we can stray a little bit. We'll get back, but you want it to flow naturally. Yeah. I told you we were going to have different answers.
Yeah.
I love this.
But the other side of that coin is that when we talked about like content and creating topics, Levi, when he has a show topic that he wants to do, it's usually a more serious episode. And I am the one that's like, I want to talk about cartoons for an hour.
Yeah, which is weird because I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No. I'm the jokester.
You don't know Caleb.
I'm the one keeping the podcast lighthearted because kind of, tense moments make me uncomfortable. So when Levi's talking about something like his father passing away, I'm just sitting over here like, don't make a joke. Keep it serious.
See, and my thing is make the joke, make it.
So,
but because that makes the episode. Okay.
But even like now we're getting to talk about Greek. But even if like someone's talking about a serious, read the room.
For sure.
But
get into the strategy around, a duo, right? So like, I will say there is a lot of power in like having a partner with you. So that's why I'm like, you guys have a huge opportunity and benefit because you have each other in case you don't have a guest. I mean, typically nowadays, I think you guys do have a guest like every single time. But before, did you guys start out just you guys, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that was episodes 1 and 2 were just us. And then
Okay.
episode 3 was my brother. He was our first guest.
And then from then it's been like guests consistently.
Most of the time, I like having just us sometimes. Caleb does not. Caleb likes when there's a guest or something, which I do. Like, it's fun either way. But there are times where I like to just have us because it may be something that's on my heart where I feel more comfortable talking it through with Caleb. And, you know, that's...
And I like company.
And you want to have a safe space when you're creating these. Obviously, if you're going to talk about topics that you're passionate about, don't invite things in the room that are going to make you uncomfortable.
For sure.
You know, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
our guests
Caleb
are
being there
never
is hard
random.
enough.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you touched on that because I know there's a lot of people who are doing podcasts solo, like I myself, right? And so I think like one of the things I do find a challenge is doing solo podcasts. I could talk forever, but I love talking to people. And then also too, like the videos, like because I've started over from scratch from my previous podcast, and I've noticed like the viewership is higher with guest versus like just one person talking because people just don't like really listening to a one singular voice, which is weird because Omar El Takori talked about that too. Like if you are going to do a solo podcast, like maybe like include one of your friends to like ask you questions or something like that versus it just like be you talking the whole time.
I like.
What are your thoughts?
I like the idea of a solo podcast. Like one of my podcasts that I listen to regularly is just one dude.
Who is it?
His name is Dusty Slay. He's a comedian.
Okay.
He tells funny like stories about on the road, but he also just has opinions that he just wants to just flush out. And he's got my whole attention when he talks. I'm just like, this is crazy because it's just him. And he has said many times on his podcast, I hate talking. This feels weird because it's just me in a room with a laptop.
Yeah,
but
it's just weird.
I listen religiously. And then there's another podcast where it's like 4 guys. And that can be intense because it's 4 people, you know, kind of waiting to get their funny thing in. And so it's kind of like, it's something that I fight because I want to have as many people in the room as possible. I think a lot of company makes for a good time. And then Levi comes in and is like, can we just do like just me and you? Can it just be,
that's so sweet.
Can it just be us? And I'm just like, can we invite somebody? Can I get
2 of us?
And I want, you know.
Well, and the thing is we have realized for the flow, the timing of editing and everything, having 1 extra guest
is good. Okay.
2 extra guests is probably the max.
I'm plotting like 4 and 5. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
you're not even thinking about the editor.
Well, I was
going
gonna say,
oh my gosh,
the producer, and I mean, I am at home and I see the hours that she edits, and she loves it. She does it with a joyful heart, which I love.
Yeah,
shouldn't say that because now I want some more people on.
No, I wouldn't.
We're gonna get a panel.
I wouldn't do this if like I went home every night and she was, you know, but it definitely has adjusted our life in general. I was going to say, you talked for a while.
He forgot his.
Well, no, what was the last question you asked?
What were we talking about?
No, I'm sorry.
Now you made me forget my train of thought.
Well, I just want to say,
this.
no, I'm just
3 times. I will say, one thing I've noticed is about starting podcasts, people do not like the sound of their voice. Yeah. I hate the sound of my voice.
Don't like it.
And I have, I've done some videos for work where I've had to interview people, and then obviously with our podcast.
Now you're an expert.
I don't know about that. Fake it till you make it. But no, but every single person was, I hate hearing myself talk. And I was like, me too.
Yeah.
But don't let that stop you because you won't even notice it, honestly.
Right.
You may for the first few minutes you watch yourself on camera, but then you get into the topic and you're good.
Yeah. And you got to also understand, like, those are your words. And so, like, whatever you are, like, you know, saying and speaking out loud, it's, like, true. Like, that's what you believe. So definitely making sure that you're speaking, like, life into yourself and not, like, just, you know, negative talk.
Yep. I just said that like 30 minutes ago. I was like, hey, we were outside. I was like, Levi, I don't really like when you talk negatively about yourself. Gosh. I don't.
Okay, so how has your podcast impacted your personal life, if at all?
I can't go out in public anymore.
I know.
It's a madhouse out there.
I'm just kidding.
Amen.
That is not what I thought you were about to say.
No, he canceled his Costco membership. He can't be seen in there.
He can't buy kiwi anymore.
No.
Let me tell you something real quick.
It's okay. Zespri will send him some.
That kiwi video went so viral that
crazy.
We did not tag that company. Like, I just said Costco and kiwis.
Yeah.
But the distributor of kiwis that sells their kiwis to Costco found that clip and sent us like product. And was like, hey, can we send y'all something?
Yes.
I was like, what is happening?
Wow.
But that is the pendulum on the far, far, far right. But my life ain't no different. I have people.
No, that is not even true.
That's not true.
My life is not any different.
That's not
I
even
would
true.
say, think about even Sundays here at church.
Yeah,
I will say
people, you get recognized
You
now.
do. And since we've started the podcast, there's been multiple times just here at church where we're in the lobby and people will be like, hey, I watched your show or I ran across you on TikTok. And for me, I'm like, oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's weird. It's weird. I know. I probably that.
It is weird. It is weird when people.
It's weird every single time. I don't think it ever will. But I don't.
No. Okay. You're right. If I'm being true, it is weird. Like it's weird because when I'm doing this, there are people that I expect will watch it, and they don't tell me anything.
Yes.
But then there are people that I would never have even guessed you pay attention.
Yes.
They're the ones that tell me I love your podcast, and I'm like, you watch it?
That happens to me all the time.
That's the crazy thing about that's what makes me feel like so like me. Like Alejandro, my friend Abby, I don't ever interact with these people on any kind of basis whatsoever. Right. Maybe in passing and I'll say hello to you, but to know that there are some people who sadly I don't think about all the time. Yeah. And they were like, hey, I love your podcast. Like my younger brother, I know that he watches, which is like, really?
I told you he watched. You didn't think he watched.
Exactly. There are the people who you expect will support you. Sometimes don't. No. And it's the people that you least expect will place an order for some merch, will share your podcast. And it's like, wow. But my family and friends don't. Yeah. But then I got random people sharing my podcast on Facebook. I'm like, thank you.
But it's hard. I mean, now that we have put out stuff, I will say I can see why it would be hard to support it in the way that I think we envision. Because I think when you see your friends and family, you want them to share all the clips, and help get it going.
Yeah.
But
make me famous.
Oh my gosh.
I can think there's probably people who don't like my feed now because all they see is my podcast clips.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I think you don't want to overkill it.
Right.
As long as they're showing up, I think that matters.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. McDonald's has over 1 billion trillion served, and they're still putting out commercials. Don't ever stop sharing your content. Don't ever stop promoting yourself.
And that's a good point. And I will say, I've had comments towards me from people that they'll say I'm just confused about your brand because is it all about you? And I'm like, yeah, it is. But
you thought this was
my brand.
I'm like, it's my brand. I'm not in a space where I have a team yet, but I think that that's why for me the brand is being authentic though. And it sounds very cliche, but again, if you go back and watch previous episodes, I talk about how I got here. And so it's interesting because yes, I feel the same way that sometimes I'm like, dang, that comment has been in my mind. Is my social media feed all about me? And it's yeah, but I'm also showing you what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because these are the same people asking questions about how did you get to a space where you're creating a podcast or how'd you get to the space where you're doing photo shoots and things like that. And it's I'm telling you through the content. So I agree. I think you just have to be just annoying. I mean, seriously, in the beginning.
I don't even think about it as being annoying anymore because yes, I am promoting myself a lot. Yes, I am sharing my stuff a lot. But the other, I keep saying the other side of that coin, but there are some moments where people who will come up to me and say, hey, because you started it, I'm starting it. There are people who have told me, and this I don't believe to this day, I see you post and you're in the gym so much, I started going to the gym because of you.
Dude, I was telling you that. I was keep going.
And so
literally.
I've had friends that have started their podcast because of me. I've had friends that picked up their fitness journey again because of me.
Yeah.
I don't believe it when I hear it. You don't believe it when you hear it. I don't. I cannot believe that I could ever motivate somebody to do anything or someone started something because of me. That does not compute in my head.
Yeah.
I'm nobody.
It's interesting because it's I think sometimes when I do post, I'm not really even thinking about me. I'm thinking about the person I could help. like you said, and so I think it has everything to do with like, this is why you have to create, because your story is not about you. It's about like showing people what is possible and like what they could do. And so like, that's what I'm thinking about, is like, I'm thinking about the person who is afraid to start. I'm thinking about the person who's afraid to like, not get in front of the camera or take photos. Like, I'm thinking about you, honey. So we can encourage you.
That's where we're a little different. I'm trying to be famous. I'm not thinking about who I can help.
I appreciate your honesty.
Which is why I'm surprised when I find out it helped somebody. I'm like, oh, it helped you? I'm trying to be famous. Well, I'm trying to make money.
Which, and I mean,
where are the coins at?
I think humbly he's trying to be famous. Which, so for me, I am wanting.
It's like, let me get signed today.
I do want to put my voice out there and speak on things, because when we talked earlier about like the funny versus the deep, I've just been through a lot of different scenarios. I work in hospice as it is full time, and so that's been my day to day for the last 14 years, and so there's a lot of stories from that. There's also I have lost some family members pretty close recently, and there's a lot to talk about grief, and so it is hard though, because those are such heavy topics. I think that's what has helped us balance, is we kind of keep it light, and we can talk about the serious, because if you drown it in that like deep heaviness, it draws people away because they can't handle that.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. You guys have a good balance.
So you do want to be authentic, but you also want to think about your audience.
Yeah.
And is this too much for them? Or does it need to become in a different way,
Okay, so you guys have been doing this for almost a year.
Just over a year.
February 27th, 24, we put out our first episode.
Wow, and you guys have taken off. That. Literally, you guys have taken off, like, truly inspired.
Well, it was the kiwis.
Thank you, kiwis.
And I do say that as a joke, but that was the start where I think it really did. Because as much hate as he got, you got us a couple thousand followers. So
he said thank you. Oh my God. Is your wife doing okay though?
She's fine.
Okay.
His wife was like, I told you not to talk crazy to me.
Cause
I can see her saying that too.
When I found out, like, or when I noticed it was like, there was like, oh, this is a moment. Like, I came home and I was like, hey, I'm kind of like a little viral. She's like, over what? I was like, so remember the kiwi thing we talked? She was like, yeah, what about it? I was like, that's the convert. She's coming. Like, I told you not to talk to me crazy.
People made videos asking their husbands, hey, if you're going to the store and I say kiwis, what's your response?
There was like a kiwi trend, like where people.
He's a trendsetter.
Wow, look at you, friend. I'm proud. Okay, making that impact.
All for the wrong reasons.
Hey.
You did great.
Okay, so what's next? What is That's How You Feel podcast goals? What's coming up?
So we have a Patreon now.
Ooh.
Thanks to our lovely producer.
I love that.
We obviously, a lot of it's due to her. But we are wanting to like film more content, and it would go on our Patreon. We're calling it Side Quest. So we did an episode.
Side Quest?
Yeah, where we went to Vegas last year and we filmed basic content creation, but shortened videos of that. Us trying different types of foods.
Wow.
I know Caleb's talked about wanting to do a solo podcast without me.
Are you going to do that?
I've thought about doing one without him.
It would
you guys would miss each other. You'd be like, this is boring.
No, we would still do, like, That's How You Feel would be the main.
Oh, okay.
I would have to leave the church if I wanted to do the podcast. I really want to do.
Oh my gosh.
I'd have to walk away from the church because there's some stuff I want to get off my chest.
I cannot.
So yeah, he talked about like our Patreon, just some more other content creation things. The end goal for me, honestly, like other than this, other than like brand sponsorships and like really like having like fun with this podcast becoming maybe a full-time job.
100%.
There are even bigger things that I envision for this podcast. Like some buzzwords like multimedia studio. There's some buzzwords like, company. Like this could become something way bigger than I ever even thought it could be.
Yeah. And
the funny thing is that I didn't even think of that until our beautiful producer put that bug in my ear, and I was like, "Wow, oh, we could really blow this up."
Don't be telling people our business plan.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not trying to, but she asked what's next, and I'm like, bro,
let me know when it's time.
We'll
so you guys
probably
can
have a
come
corner
back
office.
and tell your story.
Our producer has a really good business venture that she's taking very seriously.
Wow, I'm super excited.
I'm not
for
saying
you
much
guys.
because I don't want y'all to steal our idea.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
what's yours is yours.
Like
okay,
real
what's for
estate,
you
like
is for
downtown
you.
corner offices, like board meetings and conference rooms. Very nice swivel chairs.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. Like nobody can steal your anointing. Okay, don't even worry about it.
Well, my thing is I do want us to retire. I want to retire my wife. I want to us to retire and be able to do this.
Well, is she gonna be retired if she's still editing our podcast?
No, I want to get to the point where she just oversees it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
she's like managing.
I never
like
want
editors.
She's in the editing room, like,
my
cut
gosh.
that part.
Right.
CEO.
But she's not doing the clips, so she's not moving moving the mouse anymore.
Yeah,
No.
But I mean, where we can
awesome.
I know it seems weird. A year ago, I would not have said I want to be a content creator.
I know.
But to
It's like
where
a
we create
buzzword
content for a living, we couldn't do it without her. But I definitely getting us to retire would be pretty cool. I never want to lose sight of who we are, though.
Yeah,
I do.
And
I want to forget myself. I want to forget my friends.
Never want to lose
it.
sight of my heart for people, and I always want to strive in our podcast. I don't think I have a lot of wisdom, but I want to share wisdom, and I never want to lose.
That's so good.
Get out of your mindset so much that you lose your wisdom, because there's a lot that you can share, and you never know. It may not impact 99, but if it impacts 1, then you're good.
You're good.
And I just want to change my number and just text back.
Caleb
Who is
just
this?
wants to be famous.
I want to walk in rooms with sunglasses on.
See, that's the hard part about a podcast is I don't want him making me look bad. You know,
Wait,
I want the accusations of a hostile work environment. Like, is it true that Caleb won't let you
talk
look him in the
about
eye?
Not.
Like,
oh, he doesn't like eye contact.
I don't.
What?
But still,
Why?
this is not a part of your plan. I realized that
Eye contact?
if I'm wearing sunglasses, I can look people in the eye. But if I'm not, then it's very difficult for me to make eye contact with people. It was like when I talk to them.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
It's just something.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I just
That's what
realized
this is for you to share your thoughts, your authentic thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you for creating a space.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Any last words for people out there who are interested in starting a podcast, or maybe they've started one, but they've kind of like put it down and they're like, lost momentum, lost hope, because there is a lot of work that comes behind it, and being consistent is very, it's hard.
Yeah. I think for folks that have stopped, give up. You're not going to just keep.
I was like,
you're not made for this. No. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No, just
remember what I just said.
if you have stopped, but you find yourself unable to shake the thought, like if you're unable to like really like let that idea go, let that dream go, it is worth pursuing. It is worth picking back up until you are sick of it. Right now, I'm not sick of this, and I will continue to do this until it's no longer fun, or until I'm no longer like passionate about it. I love doing this. I love thinking about it. This consumes my thoughts all the time. I'm always texting them new ideas, and they're always like, "What are you talking about?" Don't worry about it. It's an idea I'm working on. But for those who have stopped, but they still can't shake they can't shake the passion, pick it back up. For those who are on the fence about it, just go. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, you will have support. Your friends will encourage you. They may not watch, but they will. They'll definitely encourage you. Because, like I said before, like the people that tuned in always surprise me. Yeah. Because like the close friends that I have, I'm like, y'all don't watch, and they're like, I haven't watched one episode. I'm so behind. Is what they all say. I'm like, you ain't even.
I get it. It's a lot for some people. Too.
I don't care.
I do because I understand people's lives.
I don't care. I as a close friend of mine, I love your podcast. What's the title of my podcast?
Now, I will say I don't like if someone comes to us wanting to come on the show because
we have a podcast.
Just because we have a podcast. They don't care about it.
Yeah.
So
I get that too.
It
I'm
happens.
like, what would your topic be? And then I say, okay, I'll get back to you. That's what I normally say. So
I actually had to tell somebody no. I had to like write a professional No.
Yeah.
Like,
or just say it doesn't align with the podcast. Like there's nothing wrong with saying it doesn't align with it. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to steal that.
Yeah, it doesn't
you don't
align
with our podcast.
Okay, in the most like professional best way.
No, I'm gonna be authentic. You don't align with where we want to go.
Levi, any last words for the people?
Yeah. What would you say to someone that's on the fence or someone that stopped their podcast?
Make sure when you start a podcast, you find people you want to do it with for a while, and pray for me. But no, I'm just kidding. I will say, definitely know that it takes some time, and if you're gonna do it, don't let anything stop you. But like he said, if you get to the point where it becomes a chore or a job or you don't find the joy in it, don't force yourself to continue to do it, because then you're gonna have bitterness. You're gonna have there was one time where we had to take a week break. We really took a 2-week break because we did like a taste test episode,
right?
But that was me adjusting to like getting into this role things. One thing earlier when you said how's this changed our lives, like with my full-time job, I'm go, so I can't really respond during the day.
Right.
That's when Caleb is fully into planning mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's texting left and right. And so then by the time I get to it, I'm just like, I don't even know at this point. Which
he's like, I'm just going to show up.
But then I know it frustrates. So learning each other's communications is hard. But it definitely is. It does add things on your plate. But I've also let my job know, like, it doesn't affect my job, my day job. But
I have let them know that it does. I've called your bosses and said, hey, Levi is unavailable sometimes now.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
But I would say don't be afraid to be yourself, and don't be afraid to start. That's the biggest thing holding you back is you.
Can I add one too?
Mm-hmm.
I would say keep going even when you're not seeing momentum.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Because I had someone share on their podcast. It was Myron Golden, actually. And he talked about how, the time you're in right now, where you have like the most least amount of followers, is like the biggest time where no one is watching you. And so this is your time to like create, mess up, just go crazy to learn. Like nobody's watching you right now until you fully get to that space where the audience gets bigger and the doors open up. Like, but in the meantime, keep going even when you don't see the momentum. You don't see like the numbers.
It can be hard, but push through it.
Yeah. And what we've said, like, to just kind of put a bow on it, like, chase authentically you, like, chase your voice, fight for your true self throughout like your journey, because again, it's so tough to want to just like hop on trends. It's so tough to want to mimic what podcasts you follow. Like, I would desperately love to be Mr. Beast. I would love to be him. I would love to have just 1,000,008 subscribers and do giveaways where I give away 10 cars and crush one. But that's not really that's how you feel a podcast is about. I would love to do, like The Basement with Tim Ross. I would love to do his podcast. And I would love to do, this podcast that I follow called Nateland, where it's just 4 comedians being just really funny. Yeah. And I have to fight so hard to just do what feels right to me, because that's where I find the joy. That's where I find the peace. And that's where I find where I'm my true self, is just being who I am with my best friend.
That's good. Levi, Caleb, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thanks
Is that
for having
it?
us.
That's it. I have one more question, but I don't know if we have time.
No, we got time. Julia, we got time? Okay. Yeah, we got time. What's up?
Okay, so my question is, like, I'm curious, like, going back to this, I know we joke about it, about being famous, but I think there are people out there who are wanting that. Like, they're wanting the subscribers and the followers, but that could also be detrimental. But I'm curious. I'm not saying your thought process is detrimental, but like, why do you want that for yourself?
Why do I want to be famous? Because there's money behind it. There is revenue. There are bills paid behind it.
That's a little bit what's hard about starting a podcast, that you learn a little bit getting into it, is that in order to make any type of money, you have to have followers. And it's not just like, oh, I can get a couple followers and then I'll start making money. Like on TikTok, you have to have at least 10,000. And then there's other stipulations. And so that's when you realize, okay, I do need to put content out there that does tracked people to it or utilizing hashtags.
Yeah.
I know that seems like we've been doing hashtags forever, but I will tell you on TikTok, Instagram,
It works.
It makes a difference. Posting daily, like that makes a difference. There
Be
were
annoying.
times where we and weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's been times where we haven't done that and we've noticed.
And you notice,
yeah.
I know I joke about wanting to be famous, but the truth is that
He does.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Here's funny.
I'm just
I
like,
want to be famous, but I'm a whole introvert.
which is why I'm asking you this.
I don't make. I'm a whole hypocrite because I say I want fame. I want like the notoriety, but like
he wants the money.
I hate people in my business. I don't want people talking to me sometimes.
I can imagine Caleb in a room full of people with his glasses on, not talking to anybody.
Oh, that's 100% who I am.
I just literally that's what I imagine.
He has you so fooled. She thinks you're a good person.
Oh yeah, I know she does.
He is a good person. Levi.
He is a great human being.
I am a whole villain.
Gosh.
I am a villain.
Stop it.
But like it's weird. Like I say I want fame.
He has a good heart.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really don't think I do because I don't like attention. Like when people are looking at me, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is dumb because I do a podcast. But
and fame, like if the more views you get, the more chances your videos are to go viral. And when it is things like kiwis or something so simple that people take the wrong way,
I know
the internet's cruel and they will destroy you. That's why I don't look at the comments, or read every one of them.
We read all of them. We see
or
every
just delete
comment.
them. Okay, do you guys ever delete comments that you don't like?
We did delete one video once where it was
a video or a comment?
A whole video. Because it was a clip taken out of an episode, and it was kind of cut a little weird to where it didn't give like the pre-story to it. I'm not blaming Julia. I'm just saying it was cut a little weird. But even though it was cut with care, immediately as soon as it was posted, negative comments. This guy's an idiot. He can't get out of his own way. We saw the video
ahead of time. I had asked him. I was like, "Hey, this might be one that does."
Yeah.
Because comparison to the kiwi.
I'm not gonna lie. I delete comments that have nothing to do with that cause harm.
I deleted
that cause harm.
That,
like you're not gonna insult people on the video.
So mine was someone just commented gay.
Okay.
You deleted that comment?
That one time, yes, because I was bullied when I was younger.
Yeah.
It's been an insecurity of mine because my voice isn't as deep or manly, and so I was like, this is stupid. But honestly, that I don't care. Let people think how they're gonna think, because if they don't like me, they don't really know me. They don't know my heart. So.
I just like certain comments. If you feel like they just don't align with your podcast, and if they're not helping, then I think it's okay to delete.
There are tons of negative comments that come in, and I will comment back. I agree with you. He is dumb.
Stop it.
They're talking about me. I have some friends that'll come in and tease me. I'm like, oh, you need to get a new host. I agree. That host is terrible. I'll comment back because I know who's making the comment.
Right.
But even then, sometimes I don't know who's making it. I'm like, you know what? Thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
Even though
whatever.
It's not positive. I don't care.
Most
of the time,
I
don't care.
You guys are funny.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
And one thing about podcasting is we've got to connect with some amazing people.
Yeah.
We've got to know you.
Oh my gosh.
And
we finally made this happen, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think this is going to be the last time. So
I hope not.
No,
what if we're the episode that just skyrockets you up?
You might be.
And then you got to uplift our podcast.
He really thinks that he's something over here. We
He
nobodies.
does.
Look, you got Missouri over here, and you got Kansas. Just saying.
Houston.
I'm coming to Topeka soon, y'all. I'm gonna be in Topeka in a couple weeks.
Gosh.
Top city.
Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for watching the Authentic Media Podcast YouTube. At Authentic Media Company, our mission is to help you develop an authentic brand so you can make the impact that you are called to make. If you got anything from today's episode, make sure you drop a comment down below. I'm interested to see what your takeaways are. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you can be the first to know when we drop our newest episode. In the meantime, have a great day.